Hi, everyone. Welcome back to a new episode of The New Unfiltered. I've got some really good guests coming up, but this is a question I've been asked a lot during my career. And because of that, I figured I would do an episode on it, make it a little bit shorter, and get right to the point. But before I get into dating in your 20s, I feel like I need a ta da! Like I'm finally doing this episode. Just a few things. Be Fearless Summit is April 27th. You will not get the location if you buy a ticket until literally the day before. This is a very private, highly vetted event of ambitious professionals and mentors and keynotes. We've got Anne Malum, who is the founder of Solid Core. She recently sold the company for I think close to 80 million. We've also got Cindy Ramirez Fulton, the founder of Chill House, one of the coolest nail brands out there. We've got your favorite person ever, Alexa Curtis. Obviously, she's speaking. We've got coffee, we've got food, we've got a catered lunch. I mean, it's just fucking cool. So you're going to want to come. There's literally only a few tickets left. So head to the link in the bio of this video, the show notes, and find out more about Be Fearless 2024. Subscribe to Stay Fearless or Die Trying. It is my weekly newsletter on how to be fearless. There's tips, there's tricks, there's everything happening in the startup landscape. One of my goals for 2024 has been to really scale this newsletter. And so we literally will even pay you to refer your friends. I think this is an awesome newsletter that I put a lot of work into every single week. And hopefully it inspires you every time it lands in your inbox to just be fearless and get out of your comfort zone. Make sure to follow Alexa_Curtis on Instagram, on X, and The New Unfiltered as well on Instagram. So dating in your 20s. I like to preface this conversation by saying I have lived in Boston, New York, LA, now London, and Connecticut for obviously my childhood. So I always, in a very comical way, say I've gotten around, right? I moved out at almost 17. I was living in New York when Tinder came out. I moved to LA not knowing anyone, which by the way was the hardest city to date in. I didn't really date anyone in LA. I got back with my childhood ex-boyfriend during COVID. That's how bad dating in LA is. New York is also very difficult. Boston was great. London, I think, is awesome. But that being said, I've been around the block, and I don't say that in a slutty way. Like I've hooked up with 150,000 men. I say it in a way that like I've seen a lot of shit. And that's why I feel like I am a good expert to tell you guys everything and all of the mistakes I've made so that you don't make these same mistakes when it comes to your interpersonal relationships. So I want to start off by tackling two topics. Number one, dating apps, and number two, feminine energy. I'm going to start with feminine energy, I guess. I think that term became really big on TikTok and I hate those kind of trends, but now I totally get it. So I run a full-time company. I've been a CEO for a really long time, successfully for a few years. And I spend most of my day either bitching about something, telling somebody what to do, telling somebody what went wrong, finding ways to get money, hustling. It never stops. My normal character and personality is very direct and to the point. I am with my friends, with my parents, with my family. I leave very little room for bullshit. Now, this is a great thing and also sometimes not the best thing because, especially with my girlfriends, sometimes with my parents, I'm just so direct. I'm so to the point, and sometimes I think it's very intimidating to them. And then I have to kind of check myself, and I find myself constantly apologizing, being like, I'm really sorry. I didn't mean to like be so forward. I don't understand why you're doing this wrong, XYZ. That's just my normal personality. And I know that the people in my life get it, and that's how I roll, and we all have our flaws. One thing I've always done wrong was constantly acting like the man in the relationship. In my past, I've had two serious relationships. I guess really, quite frankly, well, I guess you had two. And then I've dated a lot of guys in between there, some successfully, some not so successfully. And so one of my biggest flaws throughout the years of my dating was not really having that feminine energy because my business life is so intense and so forward. A lot of that comes into my personal life and my relationships. Fun fact about me, I don't think a lot of people realize I am so sensitive and I am very, very, very particular about my emotions. I'm very confident, but also I take things very seriously and very personally. So I am the first person that if someone offends me, sometimes I need like a week or a month to just not talk to them to like figure out how it made me feel. through therapy, which I love. I've done a partnership with BetterHelp, use that code. I think it's the new Unfiltered. You get 10% off. But go back to one of the past episodes or show notes and figure out exactly what that code is. I've really come to a point in my life where I'm confident to be able to say, like, I know that I am so sensitive and sometimes things really affect me more than they should. So I have to quite often check myself and be like, okay, I shouldn't be taking this so seriously. Why am I taking this so seriously? Blah, blah, blah. So in my past relationships and the experiences I've had is I've always been the one pursuing. If you listen to the episode of The New Unfiltered with Kim Gold, she said something really incredible. So Kim Gold is the original founder. She sold the company, but she was the original founder of True Religion Denim. And she said something I have never resonated with, a quote so much. Something along the lines of, I am a man in business and I have always been the man in my relationships. And I relate to that so much because of the fact that I am such a go-getter. I'm such a hustler. I'm so forward in business. There's no way I can turn off that side of me in my relationships. But one of the biggest things I've realized is not only does that really intimidate men, but it puts me in a scenario where my business is now my personal life and vice versa. And that's not the relationship dynamic that I want. So I've been dating since I moved out at like 17, right? I've been dating I'm 26 now. I mean, 6, 7, 8+ years, and learning everything I want to where now I know exactly what I want and what my non-negotiables are. That's the biggest thing I've realized. I think every woman should allow the guy to pursue you. I've read so many books on this and so many articles, and I think that feminine energy is so important. Don't get me wrong. I love getting dressed up. I love putting on makeup. I love putting on heels. I love, love, love dinners. I love all that girly stuff. But my like inner core and personality is I'm the one where I'll be like, I want to eat Italian tonight. I want sushi tomorrow. I don't do any of that anymore. If you want to call me and ask me on a date, if you want to send me a message and say, are you available on Friday? Let me take you out. No problem. The last thing I want any female doing, if you date guys like I do, is to be the one calling and saying like, hey, are you free on Friday? Hey, can we get Italian tonight? Unless I think you're a little bit further along into a relationship, that's where I think it's okay. But at the end of the day, men want to pursue you. They don't want you being the boss that you may be in your real life like I am. They just want that cool chick to hang out with, that's chill, that knows what she wants, but is also girly and also fun. And I know that sounds really superficial, but in those early days, you kind of need to tone it back a bit. If you are like me and you are a go-getter and a hustler and a boss-ass bitch in your real life. If you are listening to this and this doesn't resonate with you, you are the chick who's getting 100 messages a day from guys asking you out for Italian dinner on Friday, and you work in the marketing department at Amex, and you're chill and you like go to Barry's and you do whatever, then you probably don't have to deal with this problem. And quite frankly, I am jealous that you don't, because sometimes I think to myself, my gosh, if I didn't know what I wanted, or if I was just way more chill, it would be a lot easier dating wise. But this is just something that I am confident and know now that it will always take a little bit more effort for me to just act more chill because of my business. And I'm okay with that. So just a little recap on the feminine energy thing. Do not pursue. Let a guy pursue you. Let him call you. If he doesn't, if you are voice noting me, my girlfriend did this last week. She sent me a message like, this guy, he asked me if I wanted to come over. Then he was like, do you want to go to a movie? Then he was like, actually, sorry, I'm busy. Then she called him out and was like, I don't have time for this BS. Either call me and ask me out or I'm not seeing you. Then he started calling her. I said, I'm going to use a different name, just FYI. I'm going to use the name Morgan. I said, Morgan, this is so stupid. He is not that into you. Let it go. You are now chasing him. You had to ask him to call you and ask you out. Stop. Let it go. Not the right guy. It is very simple. Men are a lot simpler than girls, than women. So he's just not that into you. And he's kind of just an asshole. Like, let it be. Let it go. Whatever. So that's the feminine energy thing. Second thing I want to tackle is dating apps. I've actually never really used dating apps. So when I moved to New York when I was 17, Tinder had just come out. I tried Tinder then. I remember some experiences I had, some good, some bad. I was always younger and dating older guys, but never disclosing my proper age, blah, blah, blah. And so because of that, I had some really weird experiences. And then I moved from New York. I went to Boston to LA. In LA, I downloaded Raya. Raya sucks. It's not a good app. I think a lot of people are on Raya because they want the status symbol. I'm at a point in my life now where I'm just so confident as I am showing up in sweatpants or heels, nice jeans, or like, a hoodie. That's how I feel about Raya. I no longer need to pay additional money a month to be seen on an app that everyone thinks is cool. And I will tell you, I was one of the first people on Raya. So I got this grandfathered in rate. I think now it's like $20 a month. Mine is a lot cheaper. I've since canceled. I think I canceled about a year ago. And I can tell you that I've matched with celebrities. Friends of mine have matched with celebrities. I mean, if you want to be on an app to match with a celebrity, go for it. But at the end of the day, there's no difference between a Raya and a Tinder or a Raya and a Bumble and a Raya and a Hinge. Nobody messages. If you message, they probably don't respond. It's all that same stuff. If you happen to be a Soho House member like I am, I actually find the Soho House app really good. One of my favorite tricks to being on the Soho House app is whenever I'm at a house, I'll look at who's at the house and I'll just click connect. And I'll just like go through on kind of a crazy spree. Connect, anyone who I think is hot. And then any guy who messages me, down, let's get a drink. I've actually made so many great friends like that. I have actually met a lot of cool guys like that. I think it's a great way. I think my problem with dating apps, and since I moved to London, I did download Hinge. And I think it's better here. I think the guys just in general, not in America, are a lot classier and more grounded. And because I've experienced so much, I know what those non-negotiables are now for me. And I find that a lot of like European guys, British guys, they're just a lot more respectable. And that's what I need. Like, I need somebody to call me and just be respectable and be kind and be a good human being. Thought out there for the world, anyone listening, all of you guys listening. People just are not really good people anymore. Like it is, and I think because of dating apps, people have become so accustomed to ghosting, to being shitty people, to just being naturally rude, and it sucks. And so my problem with dating apps is that I need to know pretty soon on whether I feel mentally stimulated by you and not just physically. Obviously, dating apps create a space where you're judging somebody 100% based on their looks. And I'm fine with that. I mean, don't get me wrong. Anytime I go to a bar, of course, the first thing I do is I look around and I'm like, okay, what guy is hot here? That's just how it goes, right? But on a dating app, I don't like the fact that I don't know whether you're married. I don't know whether you have 3 kids. I don't know whether you have 10 other girlfriends. I don't know whether you dated my best friend. It's all just weird to me. And so I need to be in front of somebody and see the vibe and whether or not I like you immediately and I feel like I'm in a safe space. So that's my personal experience and thoughts on dating apps. I know people who have met incredible people. I mean, they've gotten married to guys they've met on dating apps. I have girlfriends who have had terrible experiences with guys on dating apps. And so I think it really just depends on what you're looking for. My ideal situation for all of you in your 20s predominantly is to view dating as like a vehicle to finding out more about yourself and what you want. I don't think you should view dating in your 20s as like, I'm dating to figure out who I'm going to marry. You should be viewing dating as, again, a vehicle to finding out more about yourself. Every time you go on a date, this person is not going to be your future husband. This person is not going to be your future girlfriend. This person is going to be your future friend. I think I was around 25 when it clicked in my brain that I realized, oh my gosh, if I can view every guy I go out with, right, as a potential friend, all of the stakes are so low. If I show up and he's great, amazing. If I show up and we don't vibe, I don't care. Like, you want to be friends? Maybe I'll never see you again. I literally don't care because I came to have a good time. It wasn't for a long time. And if it gets past that first date, phenomenal. So when that clicked in my brain, I really was able to get to a place where I'm so confident to like show up on a date and also really confident to be like, hey, I just don't feel this. Like I'm fine to chill, like be friends, happy to introduce you to girlfriends of mine, but this is just not where I vibe. And I'm fine with that now. Instead of expecting people to do things for me, when at the end of the day, the only expectations you can have are for yourself. You can have minor expectations for your friends and family, but you cannot expect anyone early in those dating days to do anything or act any certain way because they have no responsibility to do that. I'll give you an example actually. On my experience in London with Hinge, I went out with a guy once. We met for drinks. I hadn't even moved here yet. It was like a Sunday in the afternoon. He messaged me. I was thinking about subletting an apartment of his because I needed a place to stay and he had a place and he was leaving. My schedule's crazy all the time, but at the end of the day, if I want to make time for you, the same way that I feel about men pursuing women, like I'll equally pursue you back. I can read a room pretty well, and I think there's a lot of those tendencies early on in a relationship where you can tell if somebody's interested. I'm responding to you. I'm interested. I'm eager and looking forward to a next date. I didn't feel that with this guy after the first date. But then I was interested in renting his apartment. Then I signed up for the same office building. And he sent me a message, I think a week later. He asked me out a few times during the week. I wasn't available. And he sent me a message a week later, like, I really can't read you. This is just like too complicated for me. I don't understand where your headspace is at, and I appreciate some respect. I was like, oh gosh, this is why I don't use dating apps. I didn't respond because I was like, what? And then I sent it to my friend who's an avid dating app user, and I was like, do I respond to this? Is this normal? But of course, my intuition is like, this is weird. This isn't normal. I don't owe this person anything. I don't owe them a response. But I did send a response as like a cordial thing, being like, hey, I get it. I'm really busy. As I told you, I run a startup. That being said, my head is not in a dating place right now, and that's it. Do I really feel like I needed to send that message? No, but that's just something for me. I don't ghost. I think ghosting is dumb. And because of what I've been through dating wise and the experiences I've had, I'm confident to say I'm fine to tell somebody I'm not into you, because at the end of the day, I want the person to find somebody who is. And I think that is the mentality I wish everyone had with dating is, if I'm not into you or you're not into me, there is somebody out there for both of us, right? There are billions of people in this world. So me telling you I'm not into you should not offend you. It should not affect you, because there is somebody out there who's so into you, and that person is not me. Go find that person. Ding, ding, ding. Like, wow, oh my gosh, it's crazy, right? Everyone probably ends up with somebody. Go find that person. And so that just kind of goes back to my story on the dating apps part. If you are somebody who is really nervous to go out to bars, if you are really nervous and have anxiety, or you're bored on a Friday night, I get it. But I think my biggest piece of advice for you is, if you can take anything away from this episode, go into these dating experiences when you're at a bar, when you're at an event, whatever it is, and you start talking to somebody as this is a potential friend. It also creates a dynamic for you to feel comfortable talking to a guy. I'm not somebody who thinks, oh, at a bar, a guy has to come up to me. If I see a cool guy, I mean, I'm like, I'm good. I know what I'm doing, right? Like, I give him the little eye thing. Like, I smile. I know how to handle this. And if he doesn't come up to me, or there's like no mutual, he just like closes his eyes and turns around, I'm probably not going to approach him. But like, if there's a mutual vibe right there, I'll go up and be like, hey, what's up? Because for all I know, he's like married, right? But he may have 5 connections for me when we start talking about business. And all of a sudden now, sure, I'm not going to date this guy, but I've just got 5 new business connections. I've just made a new friend. That's great. I think the best place to meet somebody is through a friend. There's a mutual connection and dynamic there. So if you are able to ask friends of yours, hey, by the way, I'm single, would love if you have any guy or girlfriends, whoever it may be, can you set us up? I think that's the best way to meet somebody versus going into a relationship with somebody who you just don't know what their baggage is. That is what comes from the dating apps. Let me talk about non-negotiables. Oh gosh, I think I have so many. And I'm actually really glad to have a lot of non-negotiables now, because my vetting process is phenomenal. I'm like able to say no pretty early on if there's something. One vetting thing that I've come across, and I'm saying this all because I've made so many mistakes and I've talked to and experienced a lot of things with people. And so I'm telling you guys this so that you don't make the same mistakes and you find the coolest guy or chick for you ever way sooner than I have, because of what I've experienced, just, being young and like in different cities. Number one non-negotiable for me is dating. I need to be pursued. I will not reach out to you. I will not encourage conversations before meeting that are like tons and tons of texting. I will not encourage conversations where you're like, hey, are you maybe free Thursday? Or it's Wednesday morning and you're like, hey, are you free tonight? No. If I had one of those buzzer things that people have at like Olympic triathlons, I wish I could just put my hand on it right now and just be like, buzz X. I don't understand why in fuck you would want to go out with somebody who is putting so little effort in. So little effort. And if you are like a lot of my girlfriends and how I used to be, and you look at that little tiny baby piece of effort and you're like, he's into me. honey, he's not into you. He wants to fuck you. Like, this is not complicated. This is not science. He doesn't give a shit about you, because if he did, he would be pursuing you. And I can tell you, he is either pursuing somebody actively and wants you on the side, or he has a really boring time in his life right now, whatever it may be, and he wants multiple girls, and you're easy and you're fun and he's able to. But that little piece of like olive branch he's giving you should not be viewed as effort. And I think if you are looking at it as effort, or you're wondering about it, that is your answer, is this is not the right person for you. So that's number one. I need to be pursued, and I want it done properly. Like, I want you on a Monday or a Tuesday to say, hi, can I please take you out on Thursday? Hi, are you free Saturday night at 7? I don't need to know what we're doing. I am fine to literally go play basketball or go bowling or like sit in a bar and have a beer. No problem. But I need to know that at the beginning of the week, you are respecting my schedule by wanting to pre-plan. So anytime a guy messages you like, hey, I'm thinking maybe Wednesday at 7, or like, Wednesday at 5 p.m., maybe we can grab a beer. Like, no, not maybe. Do you want to grab a beer or not? And that's where I'm able to separate the feminine energy from like the boss in me. So the boss in me knows, right? That is my answer. He's not that into me, because if he's like, maybe, he's like either really confused or not that into you. The feminine energy part of me is able to say like, I'm not really that interested in you anymore, but like, good luck. I don't have to be like, hi, Bob. Unfortunately, this was not direct enough. I don't say any of that. This is just all of my mental notes. Like, huge PSA, you're not going to these guys being like, Bob, do you want to go out with me or no? If you have to say that to a guy, you are already probably doing better than him and like further ahead in your life. You do not want that kind of guy. Okay. That was like my number one non-negotiable. Number two non-negotiable is, I think, the liking of the photos on Instagram and like the constant Instagram. This is such a shitty conversation, I think, and topic for predominantly women to even have to experience now. If your boyfriend is following, or guy you're seeing, hundreds of hot girls, and of course, every single chick, I think when she meets a guy, the first thing she probably does is look at who he's following. If he's following tons and tons of girls, but like girls with like, those Kardashian tushes, red flag. I mean, it's a red flag. Like, I think that there's a time and a place for that. I don't necessarily think seeing a guy follow that amount on social media, and that's probably an account that like his sister knows, his mom may know, his long lost cousin who lives in Japan may know. The fact that like your mom may also see that you follow that many people, if your mother knows how to use Instagram, mine doesn't, it's just weird to me. So I think that's a red flag. So number two non-negotiable is, if the guy you meet is following tons and tons of like girls, there's no way he's friends with all these people. Red flag. He just may be a player. Number three, any excessive drinking or drug use. So in Austin, when I lived there, people in Texas drink like you've never seen people drink, and it sucks. And so a lot of the relationships and people I've met were like in a drinking situation. And I think because of that, the lines just get blurry in the sense of like, does this person have a problem? Is this person a partier? If we're just going out, or we meet at a party, or like we meet through friends, and your first intuition is like, I want to drink more, or I want to do any type of a drug, smoking weed, I'm like fine with, but anything else right off the bat, red flag to me. I'm not in a point in my life anymore where I want a party guy. I want a fun guy. I want a guy who can like get down and have a good time, but also knows when to turn it off. A lot of people don't. And a lot of really successful men, you'll realize, and I'm telling you this as someone who has dated very successful men, older than me, successful men, their work hard, play hard mentality is intense. I'm not somebody who can have 10 drinks and wake up the next day and like go to work and run a company. A lot of these guys though can. And so that's also a red flag. So if you meet somebody who like off the bat is drinking a lot or doing a lot of substances, but you're like, oh, wow, but they're so successful or they make so much money, doesn't mean it's not a red flag. Other non-negotiables, if a guy or anyone in general doesn't ask me questions about myself, if the conversation, I had one last week, if the conversation is like, yeah, I did this, and then we did this, and my job life, and my work life. Oh, do you like that kind of food? Yeah, I like that kind of food. Yeah, me too. So I went to this crazy, I'm putting an imaginary hand on that beeper right now. Red flag. I hate talking only about you because I don't care. Like, you really have to give me a reason to care. And if you are not, because you're only talking about yourself and the conversation is not equal or engaging, and I think at the end of the day, you know whether a conversation is equal or engaging because the person is back and forth to you right away. It's equal, it's engaging. They're asking you questions, you're asking them questions, you're having a good time. If you're only talking about yourself, huge red flag to me. I don't care. You're either a narcissist or you are so boring, but I no longer care. So I want an even conversation with somebody. And in this day and age, and I attribute a lot of this to dating apps, people really struggle to communicate. I mean, go out to a bar, go out to a party, go out to a bookstore, go and talk to 5 people and see what the conversation is like. I bet at least 3 out of 5 of those people are probably going to struggle to like ask you questions back or know how to handle the answers to the questions that you have, because we're just in a day and age where people are not in a mindset of understanding how to speak and how to communicate. And it's really frustrating. So you have to sift through a lot more BS. And that was one of the reasons I wanted to make this episode, is because so many of you ask me, should I date in my 20s? And I'm always like, yes, you should absolutely date in your 20s. Do I think you should be locked into a serious relationship until you really know what you want? No. If you're somebody who's been in a relationship since high school and you're even the smallest questioning in your gut, should I get out of this? Should I stay in this? I am telling you, leave the relationship. It will be the best thing you did. And the only thing you can think about is yourself. Unfortunately, there are going to be times in your life, and your 20s is one of the best examples, where you need to be selfish. And this is the time where you can do it because you have no responsibility besides to be a good person, to make some money, to put some money into savings. Females in their 20s want to date older because scientifically, what's the stat? I mean, men are always 100 years behind us. No, that's sexist. And I am not sexist. I am just honest. But what I need to say is, men are just mentally behind. Like at 30, a guy is actually 27. So if you are a female at 27, you are more like 30. So if you're dating somebody younger than you, you may realize that you are just ahead of where they are. And that's not a bad thing. It's just a realistic thing. So my advice for you, if you're someone that's like me, that has a tendency to want to date older because you feel really mature, is you should want to be with somebody who's doing better than you financially, mentally, successfully. That doesn't mean to write everyone off who's your age. That's something that I've done for a while. I was always like, I'll never date a guy in their 20s. And quite frankly, I've never dated a guy who's close to my age. But that's also because mentally, I'm kind of more like 40. So for me, it works. I think at the end of the day, it depends on what you want and it depends on how much you vibe with this person. I don't think age matters. I don't think that if you're 20, you should only date somebody who is 2 years older than you. I don't think you should date somebody who is 10 or 7 years older than you. But I definitely think if you're around my age, 25 plus, that I think a 5 to 10 years is 10 on the higher spectrum is a good match, just because men develop a lot slower than women do. And so women have a tendency to, I think, know what they want a lot sooner than what a man would know. So that's my 2 cents on the age situation. If you find somebody that you vibe with, I don't think it matters. Just go with the flow, but also be aware that if a guy is over the age of 35 and you are in your 20s, their intentions behind that relationship may be different. And women in their 20s are really naive. Definitely, I think, are a bit more fragile. You're still learning and experiencing things, and men are, at the end of the day, just powerful and have more manipulative tactics, right, to go after what they want. So you have to be conscious of that, and you have to take things slow and just be really honest with yourself. And again, view it as a friendship until there's a reason for it to be more than that. I will also leave you with one little piece of Alexa advice. This is something that I have experienced on my own, that I've seen other people experience, and I think it's important to notice. You may end up with somebody who is intimidated by you. And there are certain ways to find out and figure out whether somebody thinks they are not good enough to be with you on both sides. You may date somebody who you're like, wow, this person is so much more successful than me. This person has more money than me. This person has done more, comes from a better family. I'm not good enough. When you start any relationship on that, no, it's going to fail. I was in LA a week and a half ago with a friend of mine, and we were at lunch, and she was talking to me about a guy and she's a pretty famous actress, to be honest, but she was talking about a guy she had met on Hinge, and uh, she said that they were going out and she would bring him to events with her. And I think he was younger than her and he was more traditional. I think he was working at like Microsoft or something like that. So he was not in the creative field. And she said there were things that he would say that always made it seem like he will just never be good enough for her. And he would say things like that. I feel like I'll never be good enough for you, or I don't know how to act at these kind of events. And they broke up. And I have related to that in many elements of relationships that I've been in. Look, at the end of the day, you need to be with somebody who fits in your lifestyle. We are not all Alexa Curtis and we are not all famous actresses, but if you are a nurse and you're dating somebody who has a totally different lifestyle than you, or you want to be an influencer or a celebrity or a content creator, and the person you're dating doesn't even want to be photographed in any form of photography, there's going to be some problems here. So there's little things like that that will make you know somebody off the bat feels like they aren't good enough for you. And no relationship that begins like that will work out well because you're already on an uneven playing field. The playing field needs to always be like, always let the guy be a little bit more interested in you, always let him take more of the direction, but you still want to feel even when it comes to things like your morals, your values, what you like to do on the weekend, your extracurricular activities, whether you like to drink, whether you guys not like to drink, you know what I mean? And so you never want to be with somebody who thinks they aren't good enough for you, because all that you will do is make that person more insecure without needing to worry about it or care about it. It's just going to be this black elephant in the room and the relationship won't work. So that is the last piece of advice I have for this episode on dating in your 20s. If you can take away hopefully many nuggets from that, but I think that's the biggest thing, because I don't know, I just go back to no relationship can sustain somebody feeling less than or insecure based on the fact that you're just existing. And you get to a point where you are mature and aware enough to realize your strengths and your weaknesses, and you want to be with somebody who is playing on that field with you. Would your high school volleyball coach put you on a team with somebody who is disgustingly better than you, knowing you're just going to fail? No, it's the same with dating. If I go and date somebody who works at McDonald's, my lifestyle is not going to fit, and it's not a bad thing. It doesn't mean I'm better than you. It means I am different than you, and my lifestyle will not fit with that other person's lifestyle because we're in two different worlds. So you want to find somebody who's in your world who gets you. If you want to hear more from me or from other guests on The New Unfiltered, there is 150 plus episodes to listen to on The New Unfiltered on all streaming platforms. If you write the show a review, that would be amazing. It puts the show higher up on Apple Podcast and Spotify so more people can hear about The New Unfiltered. And don't forget to go to the show notes to find out everything going on with Be Fearless Summit, find out everything going on with the newsletter and an exciting new element of the newsletter membership that is being launched next month that has to do with more of a webinar style for those of you who are an existing premium subscriber. So I can't wait for all of you guys to meet each other because I love coaching you one-on-one, but I'm extra excited to have you guys meet on your own. And I'll see you back next week for a new episode of The New Unfiltered.